When you think about careers in the medical field, you're probably thinking doctor, nurse, surgeon, etc. What you're not thinking of is a histotechnologist or a anaplastologist. But both of these are very important career paths that might actually align with you and who you are more than the one that you are thinking of right now. Welcome to Find Your Power podcast. I am your host, Avery Jane. I'm so excited to be talking to you guys today. This episode is actually inspired by the fact that I personally am stepping out of my comfort zone and I am trying to look for jobs within the medical field. So, as you guys probably know already, I am currently in school in undergraduate. So, technically, I don't have a certification yet of any kind for the medical field, but I am pursuing a career path within that field. So, I am trying to kind of, as they say, get your foot in the door. So, I hope that this episode will inspire some of you guys who are thinking about similar career paths to go ahead and start, honestly, just start somewhere. Get your foot in the door. It doesn't have to be something that you love, or it definitely doesn't have to be the end goal. But honestly, just starting anywhere, starting somewhere, like I said, is the best way to do it. So, today I want to, like I said, help those of you who are out there that are similar to myself, looking for a job in the medical field, and maybe you have a specific career path in mind already, but I kind of want to help you branch out and think about other career paths that you might want to explore. You are still young. I don't care how old you are, but you are young and you have years ahead of you. You have so much time to do whatever you want in life. So, maybe you're in high school or college, or maybe you're not and you're not in school at all. Maybe you're in a career right now that you've been in for 20, 25 years and you're just ready to start something new. This episode is for anyone that's really just looking to find interest in the medical field. And you might just be curious about it. That's okay too. I think this episode is going to be very interesting, honestly. So if you're just kind of curious, just join me today and keep listening. But the main thing I want to do in this episode is just go through some options that are out there that you might not even know about. I really like finding those like niche type of career paths or jobs that you probably didn't even know existed. And then when you hear about it, you're like, oh, yeah, somebody has to do that, right? But I don't know anything about that job. And also, I never thought that that is a job, right? But of course, after you hear about it, you're like, yeah, somebody has to do that, right? Because there are so many working parts together in the medical field and in medical positions, hospitals, clinics, any type of career path in the medical field. There's so many working parts that have to go together. So at the end of the day, you're bound to find something that fits you. I want to start this episode by talking about what the medical field actually includes. I think that term is thrown around a lot of times these days, the medical field this, the medical field that. But I think that we usually associate it with, like I said in the beginning, those broad career paths: doctor, nurse, surgeon. I don't know, those are the ones that come to the top of my head whenever I think of it, honestly. I think that's just kind of the ones that are ingrained into us at a young age. But some people don't realize all of those jobs that are actually considered the part of the medical field. The internet says that the medical field encompasses the practice of healthcare, including prevention, diagnosis, treatment, and management of diseases and health conditions. So, all of those things combined, there's bound to be a job out there that's going to suit you. But you can work with patients or not within the medical field. You can work in labs or offices. You can work on computers or on your feet. And you can work with a focus in either science, psychology, engineering, business, technology, or combinations of all of those, or some of those, or whatever you really find interesting. Healthcare is a giant ecosystem, and there's a role for every personality. So, to go through some main categories for medical careers, And I'm going to give some career examples within them as well. So there's direct patient care. These are kind of the traditional roles that you think of. Physician, there's an MD and a DO. So a MD is a doctor of medicine, and a DO is a doctor of osteopathic medicine. Both of those are certified doctors or physicians. There's a nurse, registered nurse, RN or NP is a nurse practitioner. There's a PA, which is a physician assistant, a physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech language pathologist, and paramedics and EMTs. So, if you are the type of person who loves working hands on with patients on your feet, doing those very active hands on activities, I think that category of medical careers are going to be probably more curated towards you and who you are. Another category is the diagnostic and imaging. Some examples of this will be a radio I can't say this one, but radiologic technologist, an ultrasound or sonography tech, MRI technologist, or nuclear medicine technologist. So those sound very interesting, but like I said, very important roles in that. Another category would be laboratory and research. So this may include a medical laboratory scientist, a histotechnologist, like the position I mentioned in the beginning. If you're curious, this is someone who specializes in the preparation and analysis of biological tissues for microscopic examination. And also a cytotechnologist. This is a professional that examines cells to detect the presence of cancer and other diseases. Very important position. Research coordinator or a clinical trials manager. The next category will be rehabilitation and therapeutic. This will be a exercise physiologist, recreational therapist, respiratory therapist. Also, there's a prosthetist, kind of a hard word. That's a professional that creates and fits artificial limbs. And an orthotist is one that specializes in making and fitting orthotic devices that support the body and improve mobility. Very cool technology that we have nowadays. I think about that sometimes because can you imagine when you really think about the technology that we have nowadays versus what 200 years ago? It's actually astronomical. There's also pharmacy and medication. This may be a pharmacist, pharmacy technician, or pharmaceutical researcher. Then there's mental and behavioral health category. This may include a clinical psychologist, a psychiatrist, a counselor or therapist, and or a behavioral health technician. The last main category that I found in the healthcare field will be health administration and public health. This might include a healthcare administrator, an epidemiologist, which is a health professional that identifies the causes of disease and those that are at risk of contracting it and how to stop it or control the spread. Very, very important, especially during the COVID pandemic. A health policy analyst, a person that does medical billing or coding, and this is a healthcare expert who uses the computer and communication skills to assist in the medical billing process and ensure the accuracy of data. There's also a health informatics specialist. This is a professional who bridges the gap between healthcare and information technology. They focus on acquisition, storage, retrieval, and the use of information to improve patient care. Now, for a fun part, I found 10 specific or niche or whatever you want to call it, underrated kind of careers that you probably didn't know or think about existing. There are many more, but these are the most interesting or unique ones that I could find. If you know of one that I'm not mentioning in this, please comment down below and list it because maybe it could be helpful or maybe it could be fun or both. So, the first one is a perfusionist. This is somebody that runs the heart and lung machine during open heart surgery. This is a position that is very high salary and low awareness role. If you think about it, that's crazy important, but at the same time, you don't really do much, I feel like. Of course, I would have to talk with a real professional perfusionist to know all of the details on this, but it seems like this is the type of position where you just have to monitor and there's not so much hands on from what I can see. Number two is a genetic counselor. This is someone that works with families in evaluating genetic risks. I think I've heard of this actually, especially in if you take classes like in high school or college on genetics or anatomy. You talk a lot about a lot of recessive or dominant genes out there that can carry these diseases. And this is someone who creates graphics for textbooks, surgeries, or medical animations. This would be a position that is perfect for students that are artistic but also science minded. Number four is a anaplastologist. This is also the one I mentioned at the beginning because this one I find so interesting. They design facial and body prosthetics. So similar to the, oh, how do you say? Similar to the prosthetist or the orthotist, except it seems like an anaplastologist more specializes in just the facial parts, ears, eyes, and noses. And this is a position that requires you to be very highly artistic and hands on as well. Number five is a forensic nurse or forensic pathologist. This is someone who does an intersection of medicine and law in their position, and they work with evidence collection, trauma, and crime investigations. Super cool. Number six, clinical ethicist. This is a professional that helps hospitals make ethical decisions. Super, super, super important. This position requires philosophy and ethics background as well as a lot of medical understanding. I actually took a biomedical ethics class last semester. Very interesting course. If you have the opportunity to take some kind of ethics or biomedical ethics or whatever type of class like that in college or even high school, maybe, highly recommend. Even just for one semester, it makes you think every single class, which I think a lot of philosophy and ethics does that, but just highly recommend. Number seven is a medical device sales representative. This one has great pay and hospital based, but non clinical. More, I would say you need some kind of sales experience mostly for this one. Number eight is a dosimetrist or dosimetrist. I'm probably saying that wrong, but hopefully you know what I'm talking about. They design radiation treatment plans for cancer patients, and they also work really closely with oncologists and physicists. Number nine is a sleep technologist. This is a person that studies sleep patterns and disorders, and this job is overnight and it's very high demand. But hey, if you're a night person, maybe this position is for you. And the last one I found that was super niche and interesting to me, but of course, there's so many more out there. Number 10, a certified child life specialist. This is someone who supports children during hospitalizations using therapy, play, coping strategies, and emotional support, and they help kids stay emotionally safe during surgeries, chronic illnesses, or trauma. Super important. I think it's so hard on anyone that has to be in a hospital, especially for a long time, with disease or treatment that they are going through. So, especially for children, I think this position is extremely important, just like all of them are in their own ways. Now, to talk about a little bit of self reflection and internally dissecting yourself. So, how to figure out which path fits you specifically. So, we can go based on personality first. Think about if you like direct interaction, you're probably going to want to go with one of the ones I mentioned in the beginning, like a hands on patient kind of position, PT, physical therapy, nursing, or PA, a physician assistant. If you prefer more behind the scenes work, maybe you want to do like lab science or imaging or pathology. If you love technology, maybe you want to go on the radiology or informatics, perfusion, or even medical engineering route. All of those would include a lot of technology. Or if you love psychology, then maybe you want to do the counseling route or maybe a psychiatric nurse practitioner or behavioral health, depending on the amount of schooling that you want to do. Because, especially here in America, but of course, all the other countries out there, you have to do lots of schooling for those higher up medical career jobs. So, depending on the amount of schooling that you would like to do, if you want to do the minimum, which would probably be about 2 years, you can do something like EMT, paramedic, a radiology tech, or a respiratory therapist. 4 years might be a lab scientist, health informatics, or exercise physiologist. This might be just like having a bachelor's degree. If you'd like to do a master's degree, you could look at physician assistant, an occupational therapist, or there's also a speech language pathologist. And if you're interested in going into a doctorate, you may be interested in being a medical doctor or doctor of medicine, a psychologist, or a pharmacist. And to talk about another way you can decide what type of path you would like to go on is based on lifestyle preferences. So, if you don't want to work nights or weekends, maybe you might think about outpatient therapy or informatics, or honestly, any position that is in a clinic or some kind of setting that is only open on the weekdays and also during the day. If you're very adrenaline focused, maybe you want to go into EMT, paramedics, ER, or maybe even being a surgeon. And if you really would like flexibility in your position, maybe you look into travel healthcare, home health, telehealth, or telemedicine. Now we need to talk about the truth in going into the medical and healthcare field. So, I want to really give you guys a realistic picture here because I think when people think about going into the medical field, they think being smart, they think high salary, they think very good job security, always growing, which are all very important things and very beneficial if you are looking to go into that path. But I think it's also important to consider some of the cons that you might face when going into the medical field. So, to start with the pros, there is the high job stability and demand, which, like I mentioned before, you will be doing meaningful, purpose driven work in almost all of these positions, basically all of them. There are many paths and many salary levels, so you can basically find whatever you're looking for. It's very easy to transition between specialties. If you already have that certification, that doctorate, that master's, whatever degree you have, once you get your foot in the door with that degree, it's very easy to kind of transition and bounce around from there to similar positions or specialties. And there's also a lot of opportunity for advancement, kind of branching off of that similar idea. And like I said before, there are roles for introverts, extroverts, artistic people, or science minded people, many different career paths with many different personalities. Some cons to consider in the medical field may be emotional burnout. This is also something that I think a lot of people within all customer service kind of positions may experience. This is kind of something that comes along with working with patients. There's going to be days when people are very high, very happy, very vibrant, and there's also going to be days when the people that you're working with are sad and disappointed and discouraged. But I think that also comes along with a lot of customer service experiences. There's also long schooling for some of these careers, like I mentioned before. So you have to kind of be realistic on how many years you would like to spend doing school. So then you can kind of identify which position you'd like to go into. A lot of these can be stressful environments, and there's a lot of shift work that is really long, depending on the job, but some may have 12 to 24-hour shifts, and sometimes longer if you're doing overtime, especially in the positions that are in hospitals or any kind of clinic that is open 24 hours, 7 days a week. And some of these roles also involve bodily fluids, trauma, or emergencies. So if you don't do well with seeing blood or other bodily fluids, be very careful in the path that you're choosing. But I think that goes without saying. So, preparing in college is very important when you would like to go into one of these positions, starting in college or even in high school. is a really good idea to kind of just start somewhere. So, some ways that you can prepare in college or high school or wherever you're at is trying different experiences. This may include shadowing, volunteering, working as a patient care tech or rehab aide or medical scribe. And this is the type of position that is usually it could be part-time or full-time, but it's usually, very base pay, kind of a good position to get your foot in the door. It does not have to be the end goal, but it's usually a good one to start out with. There's also many research assistant positions that you can look into, or kind of researching in a lab in general, especially if you are in college or at a university. They may offer some kind of research positions there. You can also take classes that help you, whether you're going to take them online or in person through college or high school. There is anatomy and physiology, psychology, statistics, public health, and biology and chemistry are very important for some positions, as well as physics. And the last thing you can do is to build connections early. So, whether that's joining pre health clubs, which they might have some at the college or university or even high school that you are attending, you can talk to advisors, and you can also attend hospital or career fairs, which they might also have some type of hospital or pre med career fairs at your school that you go to as well. So, you could always look that up and check those ones out. So, some final thoughts on this is that the medical field is not just one path, it is many. There are so many different opportunities out there, so many different positions for so many different personalities. You don't need to have everything figured out right now, and honestly, you shouldn't. In my opinion, if you have a whole complete plan out of your life right now, it's probably not going to go according to that plan. So it's better to kind of just go in a flow state and figure it out as you go. You can start exploring, asking questions, shadowing. I think asking questions to people that have more experience than you is very, very important. And we don't take advantage of it enough, honestly. Anyone that may have more experience in a certain position that you're looking at, just ask them questions. A lot of times they're totally willing to answer your questions and talk about themselves and their experience and their lives. And it can be very valuable to you to do this as well. And this field, like I said, has a place for every personality and every passion. So if you're feeling stuck right now, that's okay. It's not going to be a forever thing. You're not alone in this, and everyone has gone through stagnant moments in their life, and you will get through it just as they did. I think that basically wraps up everything for today. I really hope that you guys found this useful. I did have to record this entire second half of the episode over because I actually wasn't recording the second half. So I really hope that you guys found this helpful and that my many minutes of talking didn't go to waste. But you guys can tune in every Thursday to listen or watch on YouTube or Spotify. I am also now on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and Audible, but that's only for audio. And make sure to check out the Instagram or the TikTok. Both have the same handle at Find Your Power, all one word, underscore podcast. And feel free to DM me on either one. Thank you guys again so much for tuning in and listening. I really appreciate all of you guys being here. If you enjoyed, please rate the podcast 5 stars. It really helps the podcast grow. And leave any comments or reviews if that you wish. I am open to constructive criticism, but please be nice. And also subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're listening on there or if you just want to check it out because that also helps the podcast grow. If you guys have a family member or friend or anyone that you can think of in your life, they're trying to figure out their career path, or maybe they're really interested in the medical field, but they're not exactly sure which path they want to go on, send them this episode or even maybe the whole entire podcast because we don't gatekeep here and they may really benefit from it and they may thank you later. And lastly, if you'd like to be featured for an interview, you can send me an email at the email linked in the podcast description on the YouTube or the Spotify, or you could just shoot me a DM on the Instagram if you prefer. We can talk there. I will talk to you guys again soon, and don't forget, we will find your power.